Okay, so this wasn't originally in the plan, and so please be patient with me because I have no script or anything written out. But I saw this video on YouTube, and I had to do a reaction video on it. I'd heard a couple things about it indirectly, but this was the first time I'd actually seen it. And it is brilliant. It is a wonderful example of why it is so important to understand reason and why it is so important to look outside of political left and right politics. And it's a topical thing too. It's about global warming, which is even better because I've been wanting to do more topical videos anyway. So this is the best of both worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gary Varner. This is Renegade Reason. And today, Tucker Carlson and Bill Nye go head to head. So let's get into it. So about a year back, Bill Nye made this comment that he thought that anybody who denied global warming should be thrown in jail. This was what the interview was initially supposed to be about. This is what Tucker Carlson opened with. But as you would expect, the conversation turned straight to global warming instead of talking about the idea that, if you don't agree with my opinions, you should be thrown in jail. We're going to ignore the fact that that sounds fascist, okay? We're going to ignore that. We're just going to go straight to the little buzzwords so everybody can fight about that instead of thinking about, this scientist is sounding an awful lot like a fascist. It couldn't be that science is starting to act like a church or anything. No, whatever. We're going to ignore that. Let's talk about this thing nobody agrees on.
He was open to the idea of imprisoning skeptics, global warming, as war criminals. Is that the choice? Bellevue or Nuremberg? Bill Nye joins us now. Bill, it's great to see you. That doesn't sound like science to me, Bill Nye, the science guy. That sounds like something very different.
So cognitive dissonance is not a delusion. It's a feature. It's human nature.
Cognitive dissonance is a feature. It is a feature that must be stopped. Nye, this will not stand.
So we in the science community are looking for an explanation why climate change deniers or extreme skeptics do not accept the overwhelming scientific evidence for climate change. And the most reasonable explanation is you have a worldview, and then you have evidence, and the evidence disagrees with your worldview, so you deny the evidence. And then along with that, you deny the authorities that are providing the evidence.
You don't agree with me! I'm a scientist! You should just accept what I say on faith! I don't have a political agenda! You have a political agenda! Not me! I'm as pure as the driven snow! I'm not ideologically driven at all!
Look, it's, people do come to every debate with preconceptions, and you're right about that, of course. But the essence of science is extreme skepticism. We always ought to be asking ourselves, is my hypothesis true?
I'm a member of both skeptic organizations, Mr. Carlson, and this is climate change denial is denial. The evidence is overwhelming. Don't get me wrong. I love you as a person more than life itself.
I hate this comment. I really do. I hate it when scientists sit there and go, I love you more than life itself. Every freaking scientist in this side of the aisle just seems to do this, and this is just my own personal opinion about it. I'll admit that's my perception, but it seems like they always go, I love you as a person. You're a great guy. You're a great guy. You're stupid. You're a moron. You deny science and common sense, but you're a great guy. It's like, can you just call me a retard and get it over with? Stop being so condescending, you ass.
So we are looking for an explanation of why you guys are having so much trouble with it.
Slow down. Before the name calling begins, and before you try to end the conversation, let's start it by asking what exactly you mean. Now, I think most people are open to the idea that the climate is changing. It has always changed, by the way, as you know.
It's the rate, Mr. Carlson. It's the rate.
This is the point where the conversation goes off rails, because we're no longer talking about this idea that people should literally be jailed for their opinion, which is insane, to, hey, let's talk about global warming. There's no way we're going to agree on that. And of course, every conservative and every liberal is just going to bitch and moan and scream about how their side's right and the other's wrong and everyone's an idiot. This conversation, in my opinion, should have stayed about the fact this guy wants to throw people in jail. That is an extreme position. And I would have been very curious to hear why he feels that way, because that's the real face of fascism. Okay, we've been throwing the word fascist around like a buzzword lately. Let's take a look at what fascism really looks like. It's when somebody says they want to throw you in jail for your ideology, and you can tell he believes that, because he's going, well, you have a worldview and your worldview is distorting your view of science and blah blah blah, like he's so above it. Everybody comes in for worldview. And Tucker Carlson says that. It's a perfectly obvious and logical point. It literally does not matter whether global warming is a thing. It might be real, it might not be real, who knows? But you do not throw people in jail if they disagree with you. That is insane. And that is a conversation that needs to be had, not let's go argue about some numbers and data and make inferences that nobody's going to be able to prove definitively until it finally happens.
It's not an open question, it's a settled question. Human activity is causing climate change.
To what degree?
To a degree that it's a very serious problem in the next few decades.
Wait, stop. Wait, no, you said it's a settled point, and I'm asking a very precise question.
It's a settled point.
Then if you'll elucidate it for me, I'd be grateful. To what degree is climate change caused by human activity? Is 100% of climate change is caused by human activity? Is it 74.3%? It's settled science. Please tell us to what degree human activity is responsible.
So the word degree is a word that you chose. But the speed that climate change is happening is caused by humans.
Oh shit, I don't actually know that question. That's like a real question. Talking points. This is how you know when somebody is full of shit. Whenever they start looking in the camera like this deer in the headlights going, and then they just revert back to the thing they said 5 seconds before. That is a fair question. Okay, if we know that humans are somehow intervening in climate change, and that is apparently a factor. If we know that, then what would the rate have been without human intervention? Since we're scientists, we should be able to measure that with a degree of certainty to the point that we can make an accurate prediction. Remember, science is about predictions. And when you sit there and go, the degree is your word. It's your word, but it is humans doing it, and I know it. And Jesus is coming back tomorrow. I know it.
Okay, so at what rate would it have changed without human activity? And you look annoyed that I'm asking these questions, but they're very basic questions. They're not denial.
So basically, the cycles of climate change, the last ice age we had was tens of thousands of years ago. So bear in mind that in ancient dinosaur days, there was more carbon dioxide. The world was warmer than it is now. There was an inland sea in what is now Wyoming. And I understand you have a member of Congress from Colorado used to be underwater. And you go to Dinosaur National Mine, you can see it. Okay.
Yes.
But that's millions of years ago. The problem is
you just said it was tens of thousands.
That was the ice age. The rate.
Okay.
The rate is the problem. Now, here's the thing. Half the people in the world live on sea coasts. As we get the ocean a little bit warmer, the ocean's going to expand, and people live on the sea coast are going to be displaced.
I'm sorry, I just noticed the look on Carlson's face. It's like, wait, no, wait a minute. No, and here's... Yes, boys and girls, there's going to be... There were ice ages 10,000 years ago, and now... But we live on coasts now. I mean, the comments don't even make any sense. We go from an ice age to the ice is melting now. Apparently, the ice is melting now. Is it global warming? Is it climate change? What is going to happen? What are we even talking about? What kind of change is it? Is it warming? Is it not warming? Are we talking about an ice age? Or are we talking about the coasts flooding because of ice melting? Which one is it? Use coherent words.
Okay, if you prevent people from having an honest conversation, you're doing a grave disservice to science. Don't you think that?
So you asked how long it would be before, what the climate would be like if humans weren't involved right now. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right.
So
at what point would it have changed? And I'm just saying, you don't actually know because it's unknowable.
So
why aren't you open to questions?
Interrupt me, okay? It takes you quite a bit less than 6 seconds.
That was the highlight for Bill the entire evening, but full disclosure, bitching about being interrupted is usually what I do when I'm losing.
So the climate would be like it was in 1750. And the economics would be that you could not grow wine-worthy grapes in Britain as you can today because the climate is changing. The use of pesticides in the Midwest would not be increasing because the parasites are showing up sooner or the pests are showing up sooner and hanging around longer.
I think that's probably all true, but
would not be overwhelmed by pine bark beetles as it is.
Right.
because of climate change. That's how
So
the
much
world
of
would
this
be
you
different
don't
if it
know.
weren't for
This was probably the only tangible aspect about this entire conversation that you can actually sit down and look at and weigh out logically. Here's the thing. There is a good chance that everything Bill Nye just said is 100% true. There's no denying that everything he's saying is probably right. This is why scientists are so frustrating, because they have this weird ability to take legitimate observations and still screw everything up. Think about it like this. Even if everything he said was true, take away the I'm on the right and I disagree with global warming, and I'm on the left and I agree with global warming aspect, or climate change, or whatever you want to call it. Take away the political aspect of this and just ask this simple question. If everything he said is true, how would you be able to scientifically measure that man is causing this rapid change? How would you be able to do that? And the simple reality is you can't. It's an inference. This is something that can't be scientifically proven. And this is the whole point of the argument. He doesn't know, and it's clear he doesn't know. He doesn't give any specifics. If this was a situation that they actually knew, and if he was actually an expert on this, they would be able to go, okay, look, from 1600 to 1700, the Earth was this way. The conditions stayed relatively the same according to written records, historical records, whatever. But then all of a sudden in 17, or let's just even take it a step back and assume it's happening really slow. Since the beginning of human history, the conditions of man have been this way. And then starting in 1750 or the industrial area, we can look at these records and indicate that the temperatures are vastly different. It would be something like that. If they don't have the written records, there's no way to know. I'm sorry, there's not. But if they had measurements from way back when and they could actually graph out a change, that would be one thing. But they can't. I mean, they tried with that inconvenient truth thing, but we know now that all those graphs were lies. There were some 400 letters that came out, emails that came out several years ago, and pretty much everything that was ever uttered on an inconvenient truth turned out to be falsified information. Anyway, Bill still had to get the last word in, and it was an interesting last word, to say the least.
I'm open-minded. You are not. And we're out of time, unfortunately. Thank you for joining us.
You guys are the mainstream media, and I can tell you why they're leaks. Because the president has created two factions in his administration. They don't like each other, so they leak. It's not from the outside, it's from the inside. Carry on, Mr. Carlson. I'm sure we will cross paths again.
That's a very ominous thing to say. I don't know what it means, but come back anytime.
Tucker Carlson is probably my favorite moderator now. It's his face. It's this. His mouth is just open like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Oh my gosh. Oh, I gotta. Oh. Okay. I don't know if global warming is a thing or not. I don't know, and I'll be very candid. I don't even care. It could be a thing. It could not be a thing. It's hard to say. I am not very well researched in that regard. I will say this though: the real questions that have to be asked, even assuming if it's true, the real questions that have to be asked are: A, if it is a thing, does the government have the capability to fix the problem? Can we get federal regulations in there to any degree that would actually have an effect? That's the first question that has to be asked. The second question is, should we throw people in jail if they disagree with you? That is an absolutely insane sentiment. And the fact that he's wanting that he would even think that is just unconscionable to me. That is, pardon the cliche, but that is like the epitome of anti-American. It is just so foreign to me. And it is, I think it shows just this arrogance in the scientific community. We are so sure that we're right, that we are going to take, on our own authority, we are going to take you and put you in jail because we don't agree with you. There seems to be this institution that used to do that. They were on a mission from God. Something about a church. Maybe an inquisition here and there. Maybe. Do you think Richard Dawkins might be a pope? Guys, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And the reason you should subscribe is if you do like these episodes and you want to see more, if you hit the subscribe button and that little bell thing beside it, you'll actually get updates of our episodes. I don't just wanted to throw that out there. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate your time, and until we meet again, we'll see you later. Peace.